Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is She's Gotta Have It, Season 1, Episode 6. And the name of this episode is He Got It All Mixed Up, Dyslexia. This was a really good episode, y'all, and I can't wait to tell you about it. But before I get started, let me offer my love and condolences to the people that were affected by the bombing in New York, as well as the people that were affected by the tragedies in Texas, as well as Las Vegas. Also, people that were affected by the hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Jose, and Maria. If you could give any kind of relief or support to the people that were affected by these tragedies, please do so, because we definitely need to be there for each other. Alright, now let me begin with this review. The episode opens up with Mars. We actually get to know a little bit about Mars in this scene, because Mars actually, he admits that he suffers from dyslexia. And he actually goes into a state that he doesn't shut because of his dyslexia. And he's also on Instagram, so he's on Instagram Live talking to his followers. And he pulls out this pair of Jordans that were actually signed by Michael Jordan on April 18th, 1997. And he holds this very dear to his heart because this was one of the pivotal moments in his life that he spent with his father, who died when he was young, and he was very close with his dad. And he's been a fan of Jordan ever since then, and he wears nothing but Jordans, not because of the style of the shoe, but because this was a very deep moment he shared with his now deceased dad. And his father was like, yeah, when he saw the shoes, he was like, yeah, you need to get them kicks. So, Mars, we get to see how deep of a person Mars is, and even though he's dyslexic, he's actually very smart. He just comes off a certain way, but Mars is definitely a goofball, though. But we see in this moment that he's very deep and sentimental, and that the reason why he loves Jordan is because it reminds him of his father. So I thought that was deep. Then we actually get it. Then after that, we see that Nola is out there with her paintings. She has this, this art show that she's supposed to be a part of, and she doesn't have a way to get her paintings there. So pretty much she calls Mars, and Mars comes, and he has this cargo bike, which he actually loads all of her paintings on to take to the art show. But she tells him, don't go inside. And then he's like, man, I'm going to go all up inside, way deep inside, Mars, crazy ass. So she catches a cab to get to the place where the art show is being held. While she's in the cab, she gets a call from Shemeka. Shemeka wants to know, is she coming to her show? This is her first performance. And we definitely know from previous episodes that Shemeka has been getting those butt injections, and we can't really see her butt, we can't really see her butt because she has this long coat on. But her and Nola are going back and forth, and Nola was like, well, no, because my art show is tonight, and Nola's like, I was really depending on you to be at my event, but if anything, Shemeka's kind of like, yeah, here we go again. It's always about you, Nola. And Nola's like, no, it's not all about me. That's why I'm calling you. And pretty much, while she's in the cab, she got this damn cab driver who she's calling her sexy lips and all this shit. And she's like, look, I'll report your ass. Because Nola ain't for the BS anymore. But then, Shemeka was, and then, like, she's pretty much told Shemeka, like, look, you have a great night. I'm sorry I can't be there. But, at the end of the day, I want you to be happy. And then Shemeka was like, oh, yeah, I am happy. And I don't need to depend on 3 niggas for me to be happy. And I was like, Shemeka, you need to have several seats, sweetheart, because you up in here getting butt injections from some low-grade bitch in a fucking roach motel. So, yeah, you have your dependencies as well. Nola got her issues with her men. but you have issues with your self-esteem, because she's actually saying, I'm outside at the clinic, waiting to meet up with the doctor. She's outside of the damn motel, and we see that she gets another injection for the night, and we see how big her ass is, and her ass does not look normal. It really doesn't. And I'm just like, this girl, and I just kind of had this feeling something is going to happen to her, and I'm definitely going to get to it. Next, we actually see that Mars actually beats Nola to the art gallery. He goes in and he runs into no other than Clorinda. Now, remember, Clorinda and Mars used to date, so there's still some bitterness there. And we come to find out that he dumped Clorinda, so she definitely feels some kind of way. And she's like, "Oh, you're so uncouth, you're so this." And he's saying that, yeah, but personally, I just feel that you're still kind of jaded, that I dumped you, and you just can't get over it. And then all of a sudden, she was like, and then all of a sudden, Clorinda kind of slipped and was like, well, I don't even know why Nola even invited your sorry ass to this event. And he's like, invited? What you mean invited? Invited what? And then all of a sudden, Nola shows up, and she's like, Mars, I told you to not come inside. I told you to wait outside for me. And he's like, so you mean to tell me that this is an art show and you didn't even invite me? She says that don't make it personal. It's not about you and all of this shit. And he was like, I just literally drove on my bike, bringing all your art here, and you mean to tell me you didn't invite me? That's fucked up. And he literally stands up for himself, and I have to admit, Nola was dead wrong for that. Like, you're going to ask this man to drive all this way to bring your art to the art show, but he never was invited. But then we come to find out, she didn't invite none of the men. She didn't invite Jamie nor Greer, and she didn't invite Mars. And Mars is just really like, really kind of like upset about that, because he feels like, I literally put my neck on the line for you, and yet this is the thanks I get. I don't even get an invite. And he was like, man, I come from the race of people, we're the last hired, but we're the first fired. But then he said, but one thing I learned is that you got to protect your neck when you out here helping other people. So he was actually hurt by that, and I have to say he was justified, because Nola was dead wrong for that shit. So we got that going on. Then, so then after that, and the funny thing about it, while that scene was going on with Mars, they were playing Heather Headley's I Wish I Wasn't in Love with You. And next scene is with Dr. Jameson and Nola. So I thought that was really cool. They played Heather Headley, and then Heather Headley's playing Dr. Jameson. So I thought that was pretty cool. And Dr. Jameson, pretty much Nola's talking about her art show, and, that this can be a turning point in her career. New doors can open up for her, and, this could be a make or break for her, because, it could actually break her career, or she can end up being just a local street artist. And, but the thing about it, she's creating a movement with that art piece that she did, that I'm not a hoe, I'm not this, I'm not that. So she's kind of created a movement, and at this time she doesn't realize how much this movement is, but nobody knows it's her. The only person that knows about it is Mars. But, Dr. Jameson lets her know that, look, this is great that you're in this space, but yet you've been attached to a lot of negative situations. I just want you to always use your tools moving forward, and not to get so caught up the fact that, that you get so far gone that you forget that you've had these problems, and these problems resurface, and they come back worse than before. So she's pretty much letting her know that, I definitely need you to focus on, on your recovery, and to keep that in mind. Next, we got that going on with Dr. Jameson, and we know that Dr. Jameson is a big fan of art, because we see a lot of black art in her office. And Nola actually invites her to the art show, but she says, have a good night, because she says she's not coming. Well, she didn't say she wasn't coming, but, And so then we actually get the art show. There are three other artists whose work is being featured at this art show. The first one is this woman named Zora Neale Hurston, which is kind of like a little spin on the name, but she's like this sculptor who did like this sculpture about hot combs, you know. And then we got this other artist, Baptiste, who's actually played by Fab Freddy. You know, Baptiste is pretty much like this. You know, he pretty much paints everything in black. And then we got this other guy, you know, Emmanuel Reynolds, who's like a sketch artist. And then Clorinda is the host of the event, and she introduces Nola as her best friend. So it's like you have all these, you know, somewhat prestigious artists who are somewhat known locally, and then Nola, who's pretty much, you know, the new kid on the block. And we actually see throughout this art show, you know, Nola is actually in a world that she's never been in before, and we see that, you know, she's excited but yet confused and yet unsure of how to talk about her art or to, you know, discuss herself pretty much. And we also find out at this art show the only person she invited was Opal. Opal actually shows up with Sky, and you know, Sky's like, oh yes, thank you for the art that you sent me, but you still owe me a sleepover. And she's like, well, maybe things can change and that could happen. And then Opal's like, yeah, we're here, but no, bitch, you ain't trying it. Because she just totally shut Nola down on that regard. It's like, she's still friends with Nola, but she's not trying to pursue that with Nola anymore. And so we actually see that throughout the art show, you know, she actually meets this dude, Dean, and his girlfriend Ebony, well, actually his wife, and they have a little girl who she still breastfeeds, and the girl looks like she's about 5. And dude is just weird because he's just coming up like, it's nation time, nation time. It's like he's trying to be so black, but he's Jewish, and you know, he got him a black woman, but this fool really thinks he's black, and he just speaks with all of this. He uses all of the damn, pretty much all of the colloquialisms and all of the different phrases that, you know, are somewhat known, you know, within the black community. He's using every single one like he's black, and you know, normally if you saw this guy on the street, he probably would get his ass whooped. But he's in this art function, and he's just doing all this, and Nola's kind of looking like, okay, what drug were you taking yesterday? You know, or what drugs are you on? But, you know, pretty much, and the funny thing about it, him and his wife, Ebony, they think that the hot comb statue was hers, but she's saying, no, it's my work is over here, the paintings, you know. And, you know, she's just kind of standing right by her paintings. Clorinda kind of has to let her know that, look, girl, you do not have to stand by your paintings like you're at a lemonade stand. Actually, the people here want to know the artist, and they want to know about your work. Go out and mingle and talk to everyone that's here. You don't have to stand in one space. Again, this is like a new territory for Nola. So, oh yes, and then also when we get in this episode, we actually get a cameo from none other than the original Nola darling, Tracy Camilla Johns. She's a woman who actually, congratulates Nola on her exhibit and that she's a fan and all of that. And, you know, she doesn't actually buy any artwork, but she actually, you know, hugs Nola and tells her to keep her head up. And then all of a sudden Nola's like, you look familiar. And she's like, oh no. I thought that was really cute how they played that, because it was like you saw the old Nola darling embracing the new Nola darling. So it was like 2 generations, you know, and I thought that was pretty cool, you know, that, you know, Spike Lee had brought back the original Nola from the movie. So then we actually see that Mars actually shows up to the, that Mars actually shows up to the art show. He's in the bathroom with the dude Dean. Dean starts doing all this crazy shit, and they start getting into this conversation, and he says that, and like Mars brings up, well, no, my name is Mark Blackman. He's like, oh yeah, did I see your boys dancing around the way? And then he starts trying to dance like he's hood and shit. And I'm just looking at this fool like, this dude, if he would have did this shit around in a totally different environment, he would get his ass beat, because it's like I think the reason why Spike Lee showed this is because it was kind of somewhat, if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhat like, resembling like, white people putting on blackface, trying to act like us, and they want to be us, but they don't want to embrace us, and they don't accept us. So it's like, here he is, this white Jewish guy is literally acting like he's black, and Mars is kind of like, okay, bruh. And Mars handled it pretty well, because Mars kind of gave that look like, I really want to whoop this nigga's ass, but I'm not going to go there. So he's kind of like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. And then he kind of sketches, his name, and he notices something similar with that. And that definitely sticks out to him. Then we get one of the shockers in this episode. Shemeka has her first night as a dancer at the Hot and Trot. She's all happy and everything. She has her little shimmy. She has this little like shawl on. She looks gorgeous too. You see her praying, asking God to bless her and to protect her, and to, that she's doing this for her daughter. She wants to create a better life for her. So pretty much she goes on stage, pretty much, I'm not gonna let you get the best of me. Like, that's an old school track, I'm not gonna let. Like, I think his name was Colin Abrams, I think. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, but I love that song. I definitely remember seeing him on Soul Train a lot in the 80s. So she's pretty much dancing to that song. She reveals the big booty and shit, and the people are going crazy. She's dancing, and people in the audience are actually singing a song like, you get the best of me. Like, the whole crowd is really getting into it, but they go crazy once she does that drop, and people see how fat that booty is, and they go crazy. Money is raining throughout the place. Now, we saw the first time we saw her at the Hot and Trot, it was like a burlesque group, and they was raining money. She was raining money by herself, so Shemeka was getting it. She had the guys excited. People was throwing money at her. She was making a killing by herself. And then there was a guy in the front who had his hands, who pretty much had hooks for hands because his hands were amputated. He kind of calls her over like, come here, Ma, but he's like one of the big spenders there. She goes out there with him. He's throwing money on her, and she's like grinding on him and everything, and she's just having her a good old time. But then when she goes to walk back on the stage, her boot gets caught and she falls flat on that ass, and her ass explodes. All the silicone and all the the silicone injection stuff just splattered everywhere. It even splattered on the dude's face, and it just went crazy. And you just literally see this girl is hollering and screaming because she's in a lot of pain. And it was just like all that money she invested into her ass just went down the drain. So her night, started off on a high and went down just like that. So then we see Nola's talking to all the other fellow artists that are being represented, and they're kind of smug with her because they're like, oh, because the lady Zora Neale Hurton was like, oh, so you want to co-English friends? And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, that explains how you're here and how you're surrounded by all of us who obviously are in a different place. Like, they were kind of shading her, and they were asking questions about her art and asking questions about her artistry, and she couldn't answer these questions. And the reason is because she starts noticing that, one, Mars is there, but then she notices that Jamie shows up. Then they pretty much kind of, oh, we need to talk to that person. They kind of deflect and they leave. And then this guy, I think his name is Julius, and he's an art critic, and he's the same guy that actually played the teacher in the movie Clueless. And he was also on the TV series too. He played like that annoying like teacher. What was his name? I think his name is Mr. Hall. But he plays this guy named Julius, who's this art critic. He's trying to ask Nola questions about her art, and pretty much she's trying to ask her, what does your art symbolizes, what is it about? But Nola can't answer him because she also notices that Greer is there too. So all three of her men, she didn't invite neither one of them, but all three of them are at the art show. And it's literally got her dumbfounded. And Julius was like, well, I'll talk to you another time. I'm probably boring you right now. And he kind of just walks off. So she finally goes to talk to Jamie. Jamie pretty much was like, well, it's good to see you. Probably, I think my invite got lost in the email. But Jamie got money, so Jamie paid his way up in there. And she was like, and she's like, so what happened to my invite? She's like, don't take it personal. And he's like, oh, so you really didn't invite me, huh? And she's like, look, it's not personal, it's just business. You understand that, don't you? He gave her some flowers. She ends up giving the flowers to Skylar. And we see that Jamie gets a call from this guy named Lenny, and he's like, what the fuck you mean? So I'm like, okay, something's going on there. Then Mars actually goes to Nola, and he lets her know, like, yo, that dude Dean, the same way he writes his N is the same way that Onyx writes his N. So we now know the person that's been vandalizing your art has been Onyx. He's trying to take credit for the work that you're doing. And she's like, yeah, he's like, we should confront him. So Nola sees him and is like ready to go out there and really handle his ass. But he's like, no, don't do it here, And she's like, what the fuck you mean? You got me all hyped up and shit. You tell me not to do nothing. And he's like, look, we do need to confront him, but we need to do it later. But I'm gonna be right by your side. I got your back. I'm with you. And next you know, she gets this text and she's like, I need a moment alone, Mars. Could you give me a moment, please? And we see that Mars is like kind of saddened by that, because he's like, he really does got her back. And Nola right now is just, I can't with you right now because you're doing too much. But we actually see that she gets word about Shemeka being in the hospital. So next thing you know, we see her. Oh yeah, we also saw that her parents actually showed up to the art show too. And her father's, I think her father's name is Stokely, I think. Or yeah, and her father is like is a musician. So he just had that way up in there where he was just kind of going off on them, like, all you guys are mediocre. My daughter is the one that's different than all of you guys. All of you people need to go somewhere, And he's like talking about her like, Jill Noah Hurton. Where'd you get a name like that? And, Baptiste. What, you think you Basquiat or something? Black. What is black? Are you black? Like, he's just kind of going in messing with them. And Nola's like, if you do not take your ass on somewhere, Dad, because, her dad is just over the top. But her mom, like, congratulates her, and they walk off, and then she apologizes to the other artists, like, look, I'm sorry about my dad. And she's like, so those are your, so then Jordan Hurton's like, oh, so those are your parents. Your dad's hilarious. And it's like, we get it, he's a guy who's trying to, be the #1 fan of his daughter. We get it, it's all good. And then next we actually see that Nola goes to the hospital, and we see that Shemeka right now is unconscious, and we see that her mother's there. And, you know, Nola speaks with Shemeka's mom, and her mother says that she had an infection in her blood, and that they're giving her antibiotics to keep her blood pressure down. So this is the side effect of her getting these low-budget butt injections. It's now got her in the hospital, and it could have damn near killed her. And she was saying that, I just don't understand, you know, she's a good mother, and she has this great job at Applebee's, and yet she ends up in a strip club. You know, how did this even happen? And she says, I know, and then she's telling Nola, like, and like, we see that Nola is deeply saddened by this. And she's like, I know Shemeka tells you everything. She doesn't have many friends. You know, she puts on this tough girl exterior, but inside she's very mushy inside. She's very soft and very tender. And she was saying that, look, I know she tells you anything, but, you know, I want you to know something. And that's where the episode ended. And we see the last part, we see that Shemeka is literally breathing on this, you know, respirator. And that's where it ended. So I'm like, what did her mom tell Nola about Shemeka? So I think in time we're going to find that out. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on my other social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and also check out my GoFundMe down in the description box as well. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will be back with the next episode of She's Gotta Have It. So until then, everybody, take care.